12169. Reel 2 of the David Suskind Show. Recording date 4/27/67. Playback 5/21/67. Part 7, take 1.
Now, three ladies who really made good. These are three women tycoons, and it's a great pleasure to present them to you now. A friend of mine, Jane Trey. She's an author, an editor, but most of all, she heads her own advertising agency, which bills over $3.5 million a year in business. I'll get those words straight. Pauline Trigère, another very good friend. For over 20 years, she has been designing beautiful and elegant clothes for America's best-dressed women. She's one of our finest designers. And Patricia Murphy, 30 years ago with $60, Patricia Murphy opened her first restaurant in Brooklyn. Today she owns and personally supervises 5 large restaurants in New York and Florida. How do you get to be a female tycoon in a world that discriminates against women in business? Jane?
Well, I think it takes a certain amount of chutzpah.
I see.
For starters.
But I don't know what the word tycoon means. I always wanted
I thought
to
he
meet
said typhoon.
No, tycoon.
I pictured myself as a typhoon.
No, but every time I met a tycoon, big man with lots of money, David, I never could talk with these people. They don't know how to talk. They don't say anything. They just made money and they forget to leave. That's the impression I had. So I don't know how to associate myself with a tycoon.
I guess if you have enough money, you don't have to talk.
Well, that's right. Then I'm not a tycoon. Marvelous.
All right.
For a woman, I think it is particularly important that you have a desire to find your own individuality. That's really the beginning of it. And you have to want to find that. You just, you've got to have the search and you've got to get going. And I think all too often that women today are going backwards. We're retrogressing instead of progressing.
But success stories like yours mean that a lot of men have effectively and willingly worked for you. Isn't that a difficult thing, to get men to work for a woman?
No, I didn't think so. I have an almost all-male staff.
I don't think so either.
You have a lot of men in your employ?
Oh, sure. I don't think that's the difficult part. I think the difficult part is to be understood. I find it very difficult if it's men, women, children. I find very difficult to explain anything. So, it's difficult for me to have people to understand me. But I don't find it any more difficult to have a man working for us than a woman. It's the same thing if they respect you and if they understand what you're talking about.
Pat, it's particularly difficult in the restaurant business. That's almost wholly a man's domain. How did you make it as a restaurant executive?
Well, you just keep at it, David. That's it. You just keep going ahead. The necessity is there. I always like to eat, and always afraid of not having enough to eat, so there's nothing like opening a restaurant with $60. It's a large amount of money to start with.
Does a woman have a tougher road to hoe in the restaurant business with temperamental cooks, temperamental maitre d's, all the things that drive most male restaurant owners into their grave?
No. Our biggest thing in our business, I say our, it's me, but my boys and girls have been with me so many years. They have made the business. And nothing is too much for them to do. I will say that the people with whom we deal, like electricians and plumbers and people like that, would take your left eye in a minute. But not the people who, we all work together.
What about the stereotype of the tough and ruthless female lady executive with an overtone of glamour, generally performed by Rosalind Russell?
Well, I think that's something that male editors have implanted in the minds of everyone. I think they make us all Brenda Stars. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I don't think just because you happen to run a business you have to be less feminine or more masculine. I think it's ridiculous or more ruthless. I really think, it's interesting. Before I came tonight, I sat down. I was looking through Cosmopolitan and McCall's and Journal. I wanted to bone up on what the ladies were thinking. And, you find ads and it says, make your bathroom your signature. Well, I don't want to make a bathroom my signature, It's as simple as that. I want to work on Madison Avenue. I like it there.
What about it, Pauline? Are you sympathetic to the picture of the woman executive you see on the movie screen?
Well, it was very nice when Joan Crawford did it, because Adrian used to dress her and she had marvelous shoulders like that and she really looked so fantastic. But, I mean, if you see me working, for instance, during the day, and Jane knows the way I work with a very little small apron and flat shoes and no makeup.
A lot of screaming.
And a lot of screaming. I am not at all that picture, at all. And when I go out, I try to just wear a few of our own clothes, naturally. But I don't understand the stereotype of things. First of all, each one of us here are great individualists, and I can't pronounce that word. It's very difficult. But I don't think that you can make generality. I think that each one, it's like everything else. It's like a housefrau. One is pleasant, one is not. One yells at the milkman when he doesn't come on time. Same thing with us. We have a job to perform, and we do it. But I don't see why we should be catalogued as shrews and terrible women.
No, I don't think we are, do you?
Well, that's
Have
what
you,
I think.
have you lost any of your
No, I think
consciously femininity?
No. And I think you fall into two classes, though, David. I think you fall into the class of the Doris Day. Now, I don't know if you all know Doris Day. I guess you do.
Everyone knows Doris Day.
You don't know me, they don't know Doris Day. Anyway, she arrives, she has an ad job. See, she's an advertising agency. And she arrives in a car, and she leaves it in front of Rockefeller Plaza in the movie. You know, like she drives up in her white Cadillac. She changes her clothes 11 times in one scene. You know, what is that? I mean, we don't live like that. It's a Doris Day movie. But that's
Anyway,
a
if you leave your
portrayal
car
of the
in front of
advertising
Rockefeller
world.
Plaza, they tow it away.
Yeah, but her big goal in all Doris Day movies and all advertising lady movies, the big goal is to really get out of it and go home to Westchester.
Marry Rock Hudson.
Absolutely. It's the beautiful end.
That lady's been patient. Your question.
Yes, you three ladies are very successful female executives, but are you career women by choice?
Absolutely.
Well, I wouldn't say so.
It just happens.
With me, too, I really simply had to eat,
You now have the American
make a
vote.
living. I had two small boys, and I really had to just make a living. And the only thing I knew was to make a few dresses, and here I am. But it wasn't really, I don't think that I set my goals that I'm going to just be a lady executive. I didn't say that I was going to be a designer. But I know one thing, that I had to eat, and it was very difficult for me. I don't know, maybe I'm an independent. I didn't want to go and work for somebody, though I did. But I just didn't decide that I was going to be what I am today. It just happened with hard work and great patience.
Are you an executive by choice, Pat?
I didn't even know the name of the word, the word when I started. I didn't such thing as an executive. I didn't know many American words. They used to talk that I had a nice atmosphere in the little tiny basement restaurant that I had in Brooklyn. And I thought, coming from Newfoundland, where the weather is difficult, Newfoundland is a small island in the Atlantic Ocean, ladies and gentlemen, and I thought atmosphere meant the weather. But I waited till I found out what atmosphere meant. I'd created it without knowing it.
Yes, ma'am. Your question.
You women are all very successful, and you must of necessity carry a good deal of authority in your businesses. Do you keep that sense of authority when you get home, and how does that affect your home life?
My sheepdog runs my life at home.
The sheepdog, that I believe.
Very big.
You don't have a sense of authority if you want people to do things for you. You ask their advice, their suggestions, what they would like. You mustn't tell people what to do, because the American public doesn't do that. Not as a general rule, just ask their suggestions and work along with it.
tells all her people what to do.
Oh, yes, they don't listen, but I try to tell them what to do. I don't think there is much difference. I think that, well, I raised two children, and they are big men now, and it wasn't always easy. They went to school, and I had to come home. I came here from France. I didn't know any English, not that I do it now, but I do my best. When the boys came home and brought me some English literature to correct, I just was very inadequate, and it was very difficult for me. But I just tried to be a mother at that time, and I also tried to have a home. We didn't have any money. I had to run it. It was very difficult, but I don't think that I just brought from the business feeling that I should be the lady executive, because that, no, not at all. I just led a double life, I suppose.
Pat, did you want to say something?
No, my
Can you
husband...
leave your cares at the store, at the restaurant?
Oh, absolutely. And the one thing that my husband liked was that when we went out, traveled, that everybody would think that I'd never done a day's work. And that happened to turn out that way.
We're coming right back. Just stick with us.
Mr. Gier, you mentioned having 2 sons. I'd like to ask you, as well as the other 2 ladies, whether you feel that you did all you should have done as a mother, as well as a career woman, and also what life did you have outside of your career and your family? Did you have any other interests?
Well, if I would say that I did do the work that I should have done as a mother, I would hate myself. I think that I did. I suppose I wasn't perfect. I certainly didn't give the time to the boys as a mother who doesn't do anything, but then I couldn't. As much as I could, I did. They grew up to be fine men, so I guess it's okay. Other activities, yes. I cook. I had to run a house. I love the theater. Love to go dancing. Did a lot of things. Run a home. Fix it up. I was my own decorator. I do an awful lot of things. It sounds incredible, but it's true.
It's incredible because she does everything well.
No. It is not. But
But
the question of the children is something that's terribly difficult to answer because I can't go back and say, did I do it well? I hope that I did. I just have to ask the boy for that. I don't know the boys. I don't know.
You know, we watched the program that preceded this, and all these kids had parents who spent a great deal of time with them, I assume, from what they said. They wanted much more discipline, much more. And I don't think it's a question of quantity, it's quality with children. I think you have got to have some quality with them and not just be around all the time like some slob. You know, I don't think it does any good to be around 24 hours if you don't carry any weight. So it's as simple as that.
I wasn't referring to quantity or quality.
No,
I wondered if you felt that you had done all you as a woman wanted to for your family.
Well, I don't have any children, so I can't say, but I tell you, I have many interests other than business, and if I had to take that business home every night, I'd kill myself. You know, it's
true,
great fun, and for 12 hours a day, it's keen. But after that, I want to go to the movies, or I want to do something.
But
you know.
Jane, you know me a long time. If I would say that I didn't do the job with the children, I would certainly not be in here to tell you so. It's very difficult. Who is it to judge? Who can tell? But I've seen women who have nothing to do, who said, I'm busy with this and that, and they certainly didn't do the job that I've done with my children, so I feel rather all
But
right
you know,
about
Pauline, you
it.
said
I mean, I
about
don't-
the fashion business, my mind never stops. And Patricia, you said, the business is my life.
That is right.
Well, then, how have you got enough left over to invest in the children and your husband?
It's possible everything relates to business, but our kind of business, the restaurant business, is really keeping house on a large scale, except you don't know how many people are going to come for dinner.
Ah, God, it's a marvelous
Is it terrible when someone drops a fork? You shudder?
That's a very funny.
Are there times when being a woman is a tremendous advantage?
Yes, I think there are, David. For instance, I do advertising, as you know, and I think in the cosmetic business or perfume business or fashion business or whatever, even I sell vacuum cleaners once in a while. It's a distinct advantage to have pushed one around. I think some of the soap commercials are a scream, you know, because they're written by men who've never done a wash. And, you know, they've got ladies picking up towels and rubbing them on their cheek and saying, oh, my towel. Well, you know, women just don't do that. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of in my life. Women kick the towels in. You know, I hate them. But these guys think that dames love doing their laundry with chip or whatever it is, blue chip or blue smush. And so everybody says, oh, this is the most gorgeous laundry. I'm in love with my laundromat. I saw an ad today. It said,
Would you like a
it said, I love my picture windows, I love my rug, and I love my new Plymouth TV. You know, like, I mean, what is this sentence? I've never heard a lady in my life say things like that. Never.
I
Now,
like
we
it.
should
I
get-
don't love it.
I know. I mean, I'm in love with my
Jane,
Plymouth television
We
set.
should get
You know, what
Jane
is that?
a new account on the soap business, and she'll tell you, kick it, and then
Jane,
whatever
you know,
it is, wash it.
a lot of men are reluctant to go to women doctors. Are advertising accounts somewhat reluctant to give their self to a female advertising agency?
Well, I'm going to preface that answer by saying I have some very erudite clients who have come to me. And so I'm off the hook now. Now I can talk. I think it's
Like us,
listen,
you
I once had a man, I made a presentation, and you know, that means you show kind of like what you can do versus what other people can do. And he was sort of kind of taken in. He looked at me and he said, now look, I would like you to look at this and tell me what you think if you were a woman. You know, I said, what do you think I am, an orangutan? You know, what is this? I should look at it like I'm a woman, which meant he wanted me to relate to some woman out in the suburbs with, you know, with the cream on her face and the,
I understand why
the
you're
laundry.
a smash hit in business, I'll tell you that. Yes, ma'am.
Trey mentioned before at the beginning that the reason you went into business was that you had this strong desire, this strong motivation. Now, here I am, a young girl. I'm a teacher. I'm interested in going into business myself. I'd like to make money. I'm interested in advertising. How did you get the financial backing to do it?
Well, I didn't really have any financial backing. I must be very honest about that. To start with, I sort of saved my money for the down payment. But I like two things, hot baths and cold gin. And this is a very luxurious thing to love. And so I decided if I had to work, let's start. You know, my mother said to me once when I was a kid, she said, you know, you're too lazy to work and you're too nervous to steal. And it always, you know, it always stuck in my brain. So I figure I got to put in 8 hours a day. I'm going to put it in at the best possible level I can and get the most return. So, you know, like when I was 7 years old, I was decorating bicycles. And it's always been like that. I won, too.
How did you get cracking in your own business? Where did you get the capital, Pauline?
Me?
You, yeah.
We need a little more money than $60. I don't know how you did it. I had a little piece of jewelry that I pawned, and we got $800, my brother and I, and we started in business. It wasn't very much. But that was very little. Today, I understand that anybody who started in my business, they need a minimum of $150,000, and they lose it in 2 months, and I am flabbergasted. We started with really nothing, but then, of course, we worked about, and now don't shrug, it was 18 to 20 hours a day, Robert and I, and we really worked. We had to do everything from sweeping to cutting to deliver, to do everything, because we had nobody to do it for us. And little by little, we were able to hire somebody and somebody else, and that's what it is.
Man or woman success, there's no miracle formula.
I don't think
It's hard
so.
work, a lot of luck. What else?
Luck, I don't know. What
I
do you
don't know
call
about that
David,
luck.
what do you mean
Forget
luck?
that.
What do you call
You
luck,
gotta be
David?
lucky. You gotta
No,
have the
no,
right
no,
thing at
no,
the
no,
right
no,
time.
No. Well, yes, there are. I suppose that the people
That's
who,
kind of timing more than luck, David.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, that's really
Well,
timing.
you cannot be lucky in my business, for instance, because you've got to be as good as the last collection, as the next collection, not the last collection. You can't be that lucky. I think the people who are lucky are the people who made money 50, 100 years ago, where they could buy land for very little and made all kinds of money. That maybe was luck, but I don't believe in that. I think that you have certainly to have hard work, and today, I mean, Jane works very hard, so do I. We love to laugh a lot, which helps.
Pat, if you build a better restaurant, will the public beat a path to the door, or can that restaurant go bankrupt easily?
Oh, dear, let's knock on wood and pray. Pray hard. We always pray. No, we have always, I'll have to say we've been lucky, but we tried very hard, and there have been, well, with one exception, every restaurant that I opened had been bankrupt, broke, and we brought it back, which is a great source of happiness to us.
We have to pause for a message, but we will return.
I'll probably be booed out of the studio for this, but I wonder what your views are on girls going to college. I mean, they're great to look at, but when you get right down to it, many of them go there just to get married, and many of them, when they leave, they get married within 2 or 3 years anyway, and really they're taking up room. No, wait a minute. No, they're taking up room where nice, conscientious young men could go in and go to college, and after they could support a family.
What do you think, Pat?
Oh, I think all the girls should have higher education. Everything they can have. This is a women's world, but the men take most of it. But go to school, girls. Go to school.
Pauline, will you put up with that idea at all?
No, I think the young man is very nice, but completely wrong. I don't think that the girls go to college just to, if they don't, some of course, it's like everything else. It's like going to a cafe, try to meet somebody, or to a dance hall. Some go to dance and some go to meet young men. Same thing at college. But I don't think that's very true.
I think your motive, I think your information is quite right. I think your motive's wrong. I think your information's absolutely accurate. About 97% of all the graduating classes get married about 6 months, between 2 to 6 months after they leave college. That leaves 3% that are going
Yes,
to
but
go
they
on
don't
in
go to
careers.
college
That's crazy,
to
isn't it?
get married.
No, wait a minute. Statistics prove otherwise. I'm afraid. I hate to break it to them. It's quite true. And I'm not sure sometimes. I think, is it better, do you cook better pablum if you've got a PhD? There's a new degree. It's called PhD, and it's called Putting Hubby Through School. Now, this is the other side of the coin, see? If the girl gets out and has to push and work and, really put out so that Georgie can finish up his degree, I think her contribution's very noble. But I'm not sure that your motive's right. You say, should they take up space?
No, putting
Then,
aside,
then we go back to Lincoln's day. Why not the chain?
putting aside the point that they get married after they go to school, there've been surveys taken. I don't know how correct they are. Surveys taken that show
Actually,
the vast majority of
you're
girls.
quite right. What women are today is very high-priced servants.
I mean, they go to school. They've admitted they go to school just to catch an eligible young man.
Oh, no.
Well, where are they going to meet them? They're not going to meet them at the supermarket. They're going to meet eligible young ladies.
If this is their primary reason for going to school, I'm sure
What's wrong with meeting
that
suitable young
most
men?
men do not go to school to.
Well,
I wish women were more. I wish we were more like the Russians. And now you maybe boo me out, but women there chuck the kids right into the nursery when they're a day old, and eventually they grow up and they know they have a mama and daddy, and it's all well and good. But they, they have lady physicists and like they need them. And you'll find that wherever, like in Israel, for instance, that's a good example today. The women there really have a great cause because every hand is needed. I mean, like they got to teach and they've got to work the farms. They've got to do they really must do a lot of things. And in our country, what we've done is retrogress. All we're doing is sending our darling girls off to school so that they can live out in Westchester and have frustrations. It's a big bore. I don't know what they're doing there half the time, but I want them to get educated. I wish women would work harder and just say, I'm not going to live out here. I'm just not going to have these kinds of grassroots crawling up the front of me.
How about that, Pauline? Are you?
No, I'm not at all with that. I don't go along with the young man at all. I think the girls should go to school. I think everybody should get an education. And if they go with the motivation of get married, naturally they should get married. Why not? Who is going to repopulate the world if they don't?
Yes, but we have a shortage of teachers, a shortage of social workers, a shortage of nurses, a shortage of scientists, a shortage of atomic researchers. And so we have a lot of mothers, and the place is the problem of population is horrendous.
Why do we have a shortage of teachers?
I wish you wouldn't go into that. Yes, Gil.
Whether it's right or not, we do seem to have an image in this country of the so-called ideal woman as being a married woman with a husband and children and home in the country and all the rest. I wonder if being successful career women, if you undergo certain antagonisms or jealousies or special misunderstandings from your domestic counterparts.
Yeah, what about that? Jane,
No, actually, I live up in the country, and I go up there on weekends, and I have a little farmhouse down the road, and the lady who comes up to sort of see what I'm doing, and she's kind of intrigued, and she sort of envies the fact that I don't have to, really do all the things she does. Like, it's a drudge being a housewife. It's the magazines have made it all very glossy. And, you're supposed to get kicks pushing a vacuum or waxing the floor. I don't get them.
Career ever in conflict with your domestic life?
No.
If you had an unsatisfactory marriage, it had nothing to do with your job.
I think the big problem is that women stop. They kind of turn it off the day they go up the aisle. The whole goal from the time they start reading Ingenue in 17 is get the guy, get the hooks in them, see? And once they've got him, then they start having babies very young. Today, 17's the average age to have babies. And that's going back to serfdom. The peasants used to do that.
Pauline, has your career been in conflict at any point with your domesticity, with your marriage?
I don't think so. I run 2 homes, and I think that I run them
very well indeed.
Thank you very much, but I run 2 big homes. I love them, and I really work at them. I come home at night and I work at the flowers. If I have a dinner party, I go to the country on weekends and I cook and I rearrange the furniture and I work terribly hard. And everybody who comes to me hasn't done anything all week said, how can you do it? Where do you get the energy? Well, I'm made with energy, so that's fine, but I never had any trouble. I only have trouble finding time to do all the things I want to do, that's all.
Pat, being a good wife and being a good restaurateur, is there anything mutually exclusive?
No. When I go home, of course, it is a continuation of what I've been doing all day, where I live. My home's in New York and in Florida, as beautiful as I can make them, outdoors and indoors. And, of course, worrying about the food as much as they think is wonderful. Restaurant, you don't have to worry about how the dinner turns out. You worry twice as much because they expect twice as much of you, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably encountered certain men who actually fear women in business. And I was wondering, among those men who fear women in business, if you find some who feel that because of the wiles of women, that they cannot compete, your competitors, for example. And I was wondering if I could have your reaction to that.
Jane?
Well, that's very difficult to answer. I have wonderful guys on my staff that I absolutely could not live without, and we have what I would call very good communication. You know, I mean, they tell me I'm nuts occasionally, and I say I'm not. And, you know, I mean, we have our usual fight every morning, but I couldn't live without them because I need that balance. I think it's very important to have the good, solid citizen balance, and I've got wonderful guys on the staff that
What
really
about
make the
competitors,
agency run.
Pauline?
They're not
Are male
competitive.
competitors at a disadvantage because you're a kind of clever female?
No, I don't think so. I think that I have a great love for my competitors, and I hope they love me too. I didn't find it like this. As a matter of fact, you learn to live with lots of male around you, the people who work for you, the people who come and see me, the customers, the salesmen. I don't find them terribly upset about me being a female. On the contrary, I think they like it. Maybe sometime it permits me to be a little bit harsh on them.
I think when it comes to money in business, that the men couldn't care less where they get it from, just as long as they get it.
I see. All right, we're coming back. Please stay with us.
That's very true.
This is directed to Miss Trégère. Obviously, her family have not suffered by it, but I happen to be the...
Excuse me,
Your family has not suffered by your work.
Yeah, your children. I am the daughter of a mother who is a woman executive, and I found that when I came home in the evenings from school, when I was at day school, it was either maids or French girls or au pair girls or something like that. And it did, until I was older, have an effect. And then I realized that I was, an independent person. But I did find that, and if I should ever have children, I would like to open the door to them.
And
do you feel that your children...
And do for your children the thing that your parents didn't do for you? Is that what you're saying?
No, they did. They did very well, but I still feel this feeling of a family unity was not there.
Well, I think we had a very great family unity.
I say you're very
going
lucky,
to the circus
but it can
when it was here, or taking the children to the qualified movie that they wanted to see, or things like this. I don't believe that I really failed them. If I did, well, they'll have to tell me now.
No, I was going to say your children are very fortunate because, as I say, it can be a very...
Can be painful.
It can
yes,
be
sir.
painful.
Your question.
Well, you notice that the average woman in the world, if she does work at all, is a typist or she answers a telephone in an office or some trivial job like that.
It's not a trivial job.
Well,
answering the telephone is a very important job. You can make very
there are
great
jobs of
mistakes
greater
in telling you that it's Mr. President instead of Mr. Smith,
Well, my question is that, assuming a masculine role like you women have done in the society, well, I don't want to embarrass you. Assuming, well, it's more masculine than the average woman. The average woman is not of the caliber that you women are.
No.
And I was wondering if you found any problems.
What?
I was wondering if they found any problems in their assumption of this role.
I see some ladies out in their backyards that don't look so hot to me. With their
Well,
jeans
I
and
didn't
their
mean you were
sneakers,
any
they
better
look like
than that.
pigs. So, the thing, you said something very interesting, though. You said the trivial jobs, and it's true. It's quite true. And that's exactly what bugs me about the whole setup that we have today, is that women accept this. They'll say, well, I'll chalk time at IBM until I meet Bruce in his moccasins, And that's all they're after. And it kills me, because here they have good brains, and they could be more than a telephone operator if they said, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make myself heard, even at IBM.
They do try, though. I know, but Jane, if everybody would say that, then it will be very difficult, too, right?
I would love to have some female competition in my business. We don't have any.
There isn't that great an opportunity for a female just to get up, out of her house in the afternoon and run down and get a really good job. They're going to find it.
Not in the afternoon, but early in the morning. In the afternoon.
Yes, sir, your question.
I'm curious if basically you're in a man's world as such to strictly advance a woman's point of view. For example, in your designing of dresses, do you tend to design to please women or to please men?
Well, now that's very interesting. I think that women should dress to please men, but I think that they're designed to make a woman pretty and to make her interesting to a man. Now that's two different things. I don't design for men, I design to make the woman attractive to the men. And I think that most women have forgotten this. I think that women dress for other women, to have another plume and another piece of jewelry and go to the colony for lunch and have another little something on, and I say to the woman, take it off if you are in doubt, you know. But I like to see women pretty, I like to see them feminine, I like to have them decide what they should look like and not be just sheep and go and do what the magazine, though we need them, decide that they should do. I don't think that everybody should have a dress up to here. I think that they should just first look at their legs and so forth and so on, you know. The three-way mirror is very important for your mind or your body or everything else.
Yes, ma'am.
If you had your choice, would you deal with a female or a male?
It depends in what relationship. For instance, I have a male secretary. I have a male secretary. You know why?
Yes, it's
and I wouldn't have
me
anything
each
but a
time.
male secretary. You know why? I'll tell you exactly. Because he does not leave the hyphen in the middle of the word at 5 o'clock, which ladies do. And she'll come in, she'll say, I'm terribly sorry tonight, but Hawthorne is driving around the block, and I have to be on the corner. Now, you get a guy, you don't have that problem. You know, he just doesn't have that sense of responsibility to get home.
They have a great sense of rhythm, too, man. Tap dance well.
Very good.
They do.
Yes.
Miss Try, you have a reputation as a writer. I know I've read one of your books. Do you think that this has helped you when you decided to go into the advertising business? Do you think your reputation preceded you and paved your way?
I don't think it hurt any to write. I'll say that because, first of all, if a copywriter quits, I can always laugh and do it myself. You know, that's very important. Like Pauline is in very much the same kind of thing. If the chips are down, she can make a dress. Now that's marvelous, you see. And she can make a pattern. She doesn't want to. But if the chips are down, I can write these copies.
I was asked to write a book.
Quite palatable.
I can cook too.
And she can cook.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'd like to know how you feel about long hair and if the male's role in the world is switching towards femininity and vice versa.
Well,
the days of Lord Byron, they all wore long hair and they're pretty fine men. I don't like it.
I like it very
I
much.
offer them bobby
I
pins.
think it depends on the man, you know, and how handsome he is or how he can carry it off.
And do you feel that the man's role is changing towards femininity?
No,
I
really don't.
I don't think so. I think there is a very amusing change in the world, and all of that is going to level off very soon. It's difficult sometime on a certain avenue to decide if it's a boy or a girl when they both wear long pants and the girl has very short hair and the boy has, but I think we'll find out eventually.
You can always tell Twiggy by her stare.
Yes.
Is there any kind of female executive, any classification of same, that bugs you, that you resent?
Well, in everything, a bossy one, the one who knows it all, you know. That's difficult.
Well, I don't think
would
that,
it be the actress
any,
kind of thing that
no,
maybe have
no,
bugged me? No, I don't know.
David, I think it's really, anatomy shouldn't be destiny. You know, that's what Mr. Freud said anyway. And I think that you can get just as irritated at a male client as you can at a female client, and just as irritated with me as you will with a man who runs an agency. You know, I mean, there's a sort of a slick lady that you occasionally trip over. That
also officious.
Officious.
But it's the same thing with men. I'm going to be with Svetlana, that there are good people and bad people, and that's what it is. They could be female, male, everything else, but I guess you...
Is there any kind of problem, psychological or otherwise, when you big earning women come smashing head-on into men who earn less, who have less status than you do? Does it create any kind of awkward social
What
problem?
men are you talking about?
Oh, well, a lot of
you
them.
mean the one who takes you out for dinner or what?
The one you take out for dinner.
What were you talking about?
Is it a problem to be Pauline Trugere, designer extraordinaire, earner of a lot of money, with a lot of status in the society?
Yeah, it's a
and the
problem.
man has a lot less.
I don't know about that.
I think it depends on the man. If he's, you know, like if he's got a lot of brains up here and he's fun to be with, I don't care if he doesn't have any money or if he doesn't. If I have to buy him dinner, I couldn't care less.
Does he care?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think
Not
man
the right
feels
guy.
he's a superior animal. You know that.
Well, I do, yes, but I didn't know about all men. Pauline, do a lot of men cringe and crumble at the idea that you're Pauline Trugere and
I
that
hope
they
not.
don't matter
Why
that
should
much?
they? I'm terribly nice with them. I cook dinner very well. No, I don't know what
You
you
buy
say.
a lot of men dinners.
No, no, I invite them to my house. I cook very well. And why should I buy them dinner? It's much nicer at home.
And what else?
Well, it's a strange
Do
question.
you ever reach for a tab, Jane? I mean, can you pick up the bill?
Oh, if I have to take a gentleman to dinner, I usually take them to a restaurant where I'm known and they don't bring a tab.
That's right.
And then the guy is simply not embarrassed at all, and he says, "What happened to the check?" And when you say, "Ah, well, we don't get one here," he takes a great sigh. You know, puts his diner's card back in its gold wallet, and home we go. But that's, you know, I think that's becoming much more acceptable. And actually, the teenagers do that a lot now. They go out and split the evening.
I'm going out to dinner with you.
All right, baby.
Stick around. We'll be back. I think you'll agree you can't hardly find guests like Jane Trahey, Pauline Trugere, and Patricia Murphy. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
Please be with us again next week, same time, same station, and we say now good night to you all.